What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Bland back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody feeling this evening? We are back with another show. It's been a really busy week. I've been really busy, but I'm always really happy to see you guys in chat. So run the likes up. Appreciate you guys' continued support. Hit the link. It is on Twitter already. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. We appreciate everybody in. Wipe your feet on the way in. We appreciate it. We just got some new carpet, so thank you guys. But let's go ahead and dive in. We're actually just going to do a year in review today. It's going to be wide open. We're going to have a lot of fun. Shit's going to kind of get out of order, but it's going to be really fun. We'll go ahead and go around the panel because we do have a special announcement to make. I do want to start with you, Pong. So first and foremost, brother, appreciate you here every single week. Just go ahead, man. I know you got a special announcement that you wanted to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, great to be here as always, PTK, and obviously Fuzzy and Centurion. Great to see you, brothers. Hey, listen, real quick. Wandering Dutch, awesome member of the community, part of the midweek mix-up crew across the pond. He is currently almost about halfway through a 24-hour gaming charity event. So he's doing a charity event for Macmillan Cancer Foundation. And he's trying to raise $1,000. They're like within $100 right now. Like it's been crazy over there. Everybody's jumping in over there. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up who's listening tonight. Please, after the show, during the show, I don't care. This is a good cause. This is.
Yeah, if you want to drop the link in the chat, that would be.
I'll get that link and I'll drop it in the chat. But everybody, drop on over. At least stop in and say hi to Wandering Dutch and the crew over there. They're rocking and rolling. They're going through. He put up the schedule of games. I think they're on Aliens right now. Aliens Fire Team right now. They're just having a really good time over there. But this is a worthy cause. If you can give, great. If you can't, just drop by and say hi. They appreciate everybody stopping in and giving them some love. So I just wanted to start out by that. I will drop the link in the chat as soon as I'm done here. But I just wanted to start the show that way because it is definitely a worthy cause. And Wandering Dutch is one of the really good
Dutch
members. Yeah. So anyways, busy week for me as well, PTK. Gaming wise, I did get some gaming in. Not as much as I like to, but I did. Been obviously, Halo Infinite campaign is still within my rotation.
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
I'm not even close. I'm just playing through it like I play all my other games. It's awesome though. I'm continue to enjoy it. Every time I pop it in, I get a smile on my face. It's still 343 again. Shout out to them. They landed this. They stuck the landing, and it's just absolutely an amazing game to go play. And I got let's see what else. Oh, I played Chorus. Hop back into Chorus. I keep preaching my praise for Chorus. If you are a space shooter fan, please go check this out. It is not a full price game. It's $40. It is well worth it. Trust me. If you are a space shooter, the reviews have been fairly good. There was some mixed stuff in there, but I'm telling you, it is one of the best space shooters I've played in a long time, and I will keep preaching this game because it is worth your time. Again, if it's not your thing, totally get it. But if it is, please try this one out. These guys deserve people buying their game because they did a fantastic job with it. And then the gunk dropped in.
Nice.
Hey, look, this look, we were hyped about the gunk. Gunk is by a favorite developer of mine, the SteamWorld Dig crew. I really love the SteamWorld Dig games. Played a lot of them. Okay, love those games. And obviously the gunk, the way it was being promoted, the way it was being shown, I think people had the expectations of a much bigger game here than it actually is. It's going to take you about 5 to 6 hours. I'm about halfway through. I played for about 3 hours over the past couple of days. So a lot of people were disappointed, and the reviews kind of show that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you something. This game, I'm going to explain it. This game is an easy game. Okay. I'm going to say it straight up front. For any average gamer, this is an easy game. This is those games that you chill out and it's just a palate cleanser, right? That's all this is. There's very little combat. It's not even really combat, but you are fighting some critters. Very little combat, very light puzzle aspects, some light platforming. But otherwise, the game is just relaxing. It is it is engaging from the standpoint of how it looks. Yeah, some people thought the colors were going to be a whole lot brighter than they are, but I still love it. I love what they did. The characters are just good characters. I mean, they're just fun characters, and the story itself is just fun. Period. So this is one of those chill games. This would be a great game if you have kids to sit down and pass the controller back and forth. It is the perfect game for that. The only thing I will say is they've got some profanity in it, which is out of place. It's really strange. So I know some parents are really sensitive about that. So that's the only thing I would say. But if you're not sensitive about that, it's not over the top. It's not crazy. It's not every other line or anything like that. It's just caught me off guard because I was like, why are they using that? We don't need to say that in this game. Like, it doesn't make any sense with the tone of the game. I'm just like, why are we, whatever. But otherwise, it's a great game just to pass the controller back and forth between you and your kids. Just a fun time. So go check that out as well. It's on Game Pass. No risk if you've got Game Pass. So just, again, give it a try. I know a lot of people have been trying to downplay it because some people were really hyping it. Don't worry about that nonsense. It's a good game and it's fun and it's easy. 5 to 6 hours of your time, you're through it. Just, whatever. It's a good romp. So that's what I've been doing this week. But again, happy to be here tonight, Saturday night, my favorite time, my favorite place with you, brothers. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about this past year, this awesome year of gaming. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. Let's dive into it, man, for sure. Let's go ahead and get to my other two partners here. We'll go ahead and actually throw it over to you, Centurion. How you been this week, bro?
I'm doing great, man. It was a good week. Definitely just kind of relaxed and played a little bit of games to just kind of put it out there. My wife has been sick, so I've just been kind of sitting next to her while she's recovering, and I've been playing Chorus. I'm addicted to Chorus. I'm glad Pong Soul touched on that game. I'm enjoying that game. Chorus is some absolute fun.
Another convert.
Oh, dude, you have exactly. I am part of the cult of the circle. I am part of the circle. I believe. Is that what they're called again?
Yes, that's what they're
called. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what Chorus stands for in their cult world, but yes, like it's called the circle. That game's absolute fun. I read a couple reviews that were trying to say that game had no character or whatever you want to call it. If you wanted something with more character to it, you'd play Squadron. I have played Squadron. Yes, it stands well as a Star Wars game, but I feel with Chorus, there's some unique stuff. Like as soon as you get your drift ability, the gameplay totally changes. And that is something new to me, is just being able to imagine doing the Death Star trench run, but now being able to drift the ship instead of just going in a straight line and just having to bob from side to side and up and down. But actually there's times in Chorus where you have to shoot open these gates and you literally have to go as fast as you can and set the ship sideways and shoot the gates and then flip the ship the other way and shoot the other set of gates to drop the force field that's blocking you. So they literally force you to use your drift ability in maneuvering the ship to get to the next area, which I thought was very unique for it.
And Nara, the actress who plays Nara, does such a fantastic job.
Right. And I love how, because I play games with subtitles on, because when, your significant other is trying to sleep, you got the subtitles on. Mm-hmm. I like how when she speaks, it's white, but when it's internal mind thoughts, it's blue. So she's basically talking to herself in her own mind, which I thought was a very unique,
it's very similar to Senua in Hellblade. If you listen to it, it's very similar. Yeah.
Definitely enjoying Chorus. I definitely need to still check out the gunk, need to play more Halo, but I'm a sucker for spaceship games and I have been enjoying Chorus. The graphics are beautiful. The settings are great. Being able to fly as fast as you can through asteroid belts, chasing space pirates or whatever else you're encountering. Absolutely fun game. But man, it is Saturday night. We're here to have the year in review. I'm here with my second family right here on the Shop Podcast. Let's do this.
Let's dive in, man. Last but not least, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. Now we're gonna disclaimer. We're not gonna slander Forza. Okay, we'll leave Forza out of this. Go ahead, brother. How you been, man?
Forza needs some work.
Yeah, it does. But I've been good for the most part. Like, trying to complete stuff that I can in Forza, but I'm falling into Insurgency Sandstorm again. I just discovered you can watch an overview of the entire match replay from whatever angle or from any character, even the enemy angle and stuff like that. So Man, it's almost like watching a battle unfold sometimes, or where you can see where the whole team rushed in and got killed, and oh, I'm the last one left. I guess I'll clear this objective. But yeah, Insurgency Sandstorm, it had some bugs early on. It looks like they got a majority of them fixed. There's a couple of small ones like clipping stuff with like certain gloves or certain masks and things like that. But outside of that, if you're looking for a first person shooter that's like more of like modern day like combat, or as far as like military style or tactical style, it's definitely worth a pickup. It's not arcadey like your Call of Duty or your Battlefield kind of thing. Those are fun as well, but I just like the slower pace, doing co-op, having a squad. If you find a squad that can do call outs right and focus on scanning sectors and objectives, it's awesome. Even when people play it like it's Call of Duty, it could still be awesome. It's just a matter of after a while, after they die about 2 or 3 times, they start to realize, yeah, don't run through doorways or kick them open and then just blast in there. But yeah, it's so much fun. But man, this past week, other than that, played a little bit of the gunk about halfway through. Still early on in Halo, haven't finished that, so I need to go back to that.
Oh man, yeah.
And I've definitely been like not really on the fence on Chorus. It's just a matter of I got like Insurgency taking up time and Forza taking up time. That's like if I add another game into the rotation, it's like I'm not going to complete any of these things. So I'm going to probably hold off on Chorus until like the early part of next year, or at least towards the tail end of this year type of deal. But man, so much news happened throughout the year, and to kind of do a year in review, man, yeah, this should be a nice relaxing show, and kind of look back and what occurred on Xbox and PlayStation, PC, and everything. But man, can't stress it enough. Xbox had an awesome year this year.
Oh yeah,
let's get right into it.
Let's dive right into it. Appreciate you guys, chat. What's up, Blue? How you doing, brother? How you feeling today, man? We're going to be on that game a little bit later on. I do expect to see you in a party chat, brother. But we'll talk about that later, man. We got a whole lot to cover on this show. Shout out to everybody watching live right now. Bring that energy another Saturday, man. We got a lot to talk about. Year in review, a ton of things to cover, man. This is going to be a little bit different, a little bit different than our usual, more formatted show. So we just going to kind of open things up. So how do you guys want to open this? I mean, what direction? We'll actually start. Pong, like where are we going with this, man? What's the first thing? So you know what? I'm gonna throw something out there. Biggest comeback this year, man. Biggest comeback this year.
Biggest comeback. Well,
biggest comeback.
Halo.
Halo.
Period. From where they were a year ago to the questions that were running through a lot of people's minds about 343. For all the unknowns over the past 6 years that it's taken for that game to come out and to finally get here after a year delay and deliver the way it did. Yeah, man, that's the biggest comeback story for me.
Okay. I would tend to agree with that based on that, like you said, where it started from. We went from Craig to what we have now. So that's kind of hard to overcome. Although I think there's a case for now. This is kind of a different come up in a way. It's not necessarily, Halo kind of came from the criticism and it kind of rose above the criticism. I throw Psychonauts in there as well because I just think it far exceeded the expectation. Not necessarily that was a lot of people saying that it was going to be a bad game, but I think it was way better than people even thought it could have ever been. I don't know if you agree with that.
I don't know. That's a tough one just because once they got acquired and Tim Schafer came out and was talking about how hands-off Microsoft has been, Xbox has been this entire time, and that they were able to finally see their vision through with time and money, to what it was and actually what they wanted it to be originally. I kind of had that expectation because Tim Schafer and his team deliver. So for me, I don't know if I call that as a comeback. I call it as proof, proof of concept of what can happen when a team like that is underneath a big giant umbrella and is left alone. I think that I don't know if I call it a comeback though, but I see your point.
Okay.
I do.
No, I get it. No, I understand. Anybody want to interject? Centurion, Fuzz? I don't know where you guys are at on this.
Let's see. As far as I don't know, there's been a lot. Like as far as comebacks, I'll agree with Pong on Halo. As far as some of the other things, like you had what do you call them? Fallout 76 is definitely improving bit by bit, and it's been doing that over the past year, especially since they added the NPC content and stuff like that.
Final Fantasy 14. Jeez.
Yeah, man, they had to shut down the servers because so many people were hopping on.
Yeah, exactly.
But man, it's there's just so many things that have still going strong. It's the only unfortunate thing is like some of the games I want to focus on more are kind of going in the opposite direction, like Division. They really haven't done anything over the past year.
Oh, don't even get me started. They delayed that DLC again, or that update again.
Yeah, but I mean, we could say Mass Effect with the trilogy, the remaster, that like after I guess Andromeda came out, a lot of people were down on the series overall. I mean, I enjoyed Andromeda, but to have the remaster and have the updated mechanics on it and things like that, that made that franchise come back to the forefront of people's attention, and they're working on another new one. So I think that's a bit of a comeback to some extent. We've had some oldies get announced as being returning, like Dead Space.
Yeah.
There were some comebacks that didn't go so well, but that's a whole nother topic. We won't get into the GTA stuff. But,
oh Lord.
But I would say between Halo and just Mass Effect as a franchise, those are big. Yes, Final Fantasy 14. That I mean, Final Fantasy in general, between the 7 update and stuff like that, which still isn't on Xbox, it's been pretty good as far as having that. But Final Fantasy 14, they've hit the nail on the head. They got pretty much everything down pat for what the fans want, to the point where they're having trouble keeping up with the amount of active users and things like that. But
that's because World of Warcraft is bleeding users right now, hemorrhaging, and they're all going to Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
True.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Never thought I'd say that. Never thought I'd say
that. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot to say. I mean, 343 deserves a ton of credit. And I think that the amount of pressure that they had to be under, that's kind of what I think about, right? Like, think about that day. Like, what was Bonnie Ross sitting there thinking? Like, wait a minute. Like, this is not the reaction that we all thought we were going to get. The support wasn't necessarily there. I mean, a lot of us still supported the game. I think generally us four here on the panel were, like, okay with where it was at. And maybe even preferred it still at that point. But I think ultimately what we got is way above what I could even expect it for an open world Halo. And I think that for me is the biggest thing as far as what they were able to accomplish, because I didn't know what a damn open world Halo looked like. I could imagine it, and I think a lot of us did, but I didn't know actually, like, if you sit up here and tell me like you had a plan. And it's funny because Fuzz, we fucking talked about this. If you remember, the idea some of the ideas that are in Halo about the FOBs and stuff, Fuzz, you talked about those ideas. That was hilarious. I don't know if you remember that, but you talked about those having those type of objectives. But I think just they made something that we didn't even know we needed. Like, I didn't know the game could go that direction and actually be good. I thought it would just be cool. Like, yeah, it would be cool. We could just go fly around and do all this stuff in this open world, but I didn't know what that looked like. And for them to actually put a vision and like make it real was super duper impressive.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a relief for an open world to not feel like a grind fest. It's compared to like a lot of other ones out there, although I've had a lot of fun with Far Cry 6, but it's the usual, okay, you go to this base, you set this, well, you don't have to climb a flagpole or anything type of deal, but it kind of feels that way in some extent as far as taking down some of the turrets and stuff. But open world Halo fits. It may not have seemed like a concept that would have garnered the attention or the fan praise that it has on initial announcement, but I think they did a pretty good job as far as making it so you can make it linear if you want as far as following the storyline, but if you're like me or most people that just like exploring the map, just don't want to have to get a whole bunch of collectibles type of thing. Yeah, they did it right. They definitely made it so it's not like a billion things on the map that are lit up that you got to go through, and it's like, how far have I gone? I'm only 13% in after 2 days. So it's like, yeah, they definitely made a nice balance of the open world version of a game that's traditionally linear.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know, Centurion. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me throw one more out there. Let me just see if this sparks Centurion. Let's just say, I'm just going to say the gaming industry as a whole, coming from the pandemic, the first year of the pandemic, this comeback year.
Point. That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? This year, a lot of people after last year, after kind of everything that kind of happened, there was a lot of people saying this year was going to be dry, that this year was going to not be a very good year for gaming at all, and that we should expect a ton more delays. And we did get delays. But guess what? A lot of those games that got delayed from 2020 showed up this year. We got a lot of surprises, especially from the indies. The smaller teams came through this year for us and gave us a ton of great content. So I think the games industry as a whole kind of needs a shout out for comeback of the year for this one.
I agree.
So, yeah,
I agree 110%, especially when you mentioned, because we're going to get into this a little bit too, hopefully, just in this random talk we're having. But indie devs, indie using the word loosely, but just smaller devs, they carried this year. Like a lot of those, it takes 2 game of the year.
Yeah,
that wasn't some gigantic studio who made that game. It was a house full of people, about, maybe, I don't know, 35 people or so that made that game. Very small team. So, Death's Door and Psychonauts, you can call Double Fine. You can say they're a big studio now, but, it's still a smaller idea, the game in of itself. But I agree. They carried this year. I don't know, Centurion, you want to throw anything in about that in particular, or just?
No, I feel like Pong kind of hit what I was going to say right on the head. I want to say that the gaming industry as a whole has made a major comeback. I mean, like, let's just be frank. Before the pandemic even happened, it was PlayStation has exclusives, Microsoft just Switch has its own little thing going on. And then all of a sudden the pandemic happened and everybody was sent home and had to basically figure out what to do. And I mean, like, we saw that, PlayStation came out and said that we're crouching down and getting ready for next gen. And all of a sudden, and Microsoft, we even saw their hardware sales were starting to slow down. A lot of the companies' hardware sales were starting to slow down. And then the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden the world sold out of Xbox Ones, PlayStation 4s, Nintendo Switches. PC hardware was hard to find on the shelf. Like, my computer went up in price. I completely found this out the other day. Like, my computer is worth more now than when I first bought it because the hardware is harder to find. Gaming as a whole has exploded and has had a huge major comeback. I mean, it's like Pong says, it's the golden age of gaming. We've seen services like Game Pass that have lowered the barrier of entry for these indie developers to get their game out. And also it's a lot more easier with tools like Unreal Engine 4, especially with Unreal Engine 5 coming up, and other graphics engines and game developer engines that have come out that have made it easier for indie developers to be able to get their product on a console, which has led to some really great experiences. We saw that at the Video Game Awards. And also, because I know EA helped back It Takes Two, we've also seen EA have a little bit of a comeback, especially when it comes to pushing a single player narrative driven experience. And that's all, like, big in gaming now. I mean, for a while in gaming, it was Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battle Royale, multiplayer. And it was like all of a sudden the single player narrative driven experience kind of took back seat for a big majority of gaming. Now, all of a sudden it just feels like that fad is slowly fading away. And we're starting to get great single player games coming out again, like Chorus, The Gunk, The campaign for Halo is really hitting it off great. I mean, we're seeing a lot of great experiences. Microsoft itself with Xbox has had a good comeback year. They have definitely, I'm not saying that they were slouching in any way, but Microsoft has been delivering a lot of content. They've been able to really push forward with a great service like Game Pass. They were able to deliver with Forza Horizon 5. I know that it still has its issues, but still they were able to deliver on a great driving experience with that. We saw a great flight sim experience with Flight Simulator, which has some of the best graphics that we've seen on any console, let alone PC. Microsoft has really kind of risen the bar when it comes to next gen, and I'm really excited for what the future is to come for the entire gaming industry and what's going to be delivered to me as a consumer in that industry.
And I think that's where we need to go next. So we want to talk about the future just a little bit. I know it's a 2021 year in review, and we're gonna get to everything that happened this year. But 2021 is a great setup for 2022 because it almost made you forget that 2022 is probably going to be worse. Probably going to be just as bad. There's just as many games. I'd argue the games in 2022 are bigger outside of like Halo and Forza. I'd argue there are bigger games coming out next year than there are this year.
Gaming will give you ADD, in my opinion, because you ain't gonna know what to play.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking insane. So we'll go there just a little bit. I'm really curious to hear your point about that, Pong, and just we'll go forward just a little bit here before we come back. But 2022, this is just the appetizer, right? Right, Pong?
Yeah. I've been saying this, that this is the beginning of the avalanche, right? This is we're going to start to see everybody starting to fire on all cylinders. Look, the pandemic threw a wrench in so many different developers' plans, how they operate, especially the bigger developers aren't as agile as those smaller developers. That's why we had indie games carry this year in a lot of ways. We still had some big home runs, but just not to the extent that we're used to. Next year, all these companies now have had time to adjust. We've already seen production picking up. We've seen what the Halo Team 343, and that's one of the biggest teams in the industry if you're looking at just a single game being worked on. And they were mostly still working from separate offices and homes and everywhere else, and not together. And they pulled out in a year the changes that we saw in Halo. So these companies are now getting used to this. The people are starting to understand limitations of what they can accomplish during this type of time. And even if they're not fully back in the office, they have now been able to figure out systems and put systems in place that
workflow.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that mitigate the problems that we saw early on, right? So we're going to start seeing everybody firing on all cylinders again. We've seen Sony go out and acquire 6 studios, support studios for the most part this year. They're doing that so they can bring their cadence up, right? So that they can get more games out quicker, because obviously they don't have the sheer number of studios to compete with Microsoft and Xbox, but they have to be able to put more games out. They can't have the Naughty Dogs take 6 years on a Last of Us. So they're going to have support teams on hand ready to help all their other big teams get these games out as quick as possible. So 2022, this end of the year, this past, I'd say 6 months, was the start of the avalanche. That is going to gain momentum coming into 2022 and then into 2023. We're talking about straight up buried in gaming content. Okay, straight up. It's not, again, people that have a problem with their backlogs. I'm going to tell you right now, you need to get over that. Like I've done, I just call it my library now. And you check out a game here and there, just like you check out books. Again, I'm a grazer, so I'm in an easier position. This is my realm that we're all in. But all of you people that like to finish one game and then move on, guess what? You're going to be overwhelmed coming over the next years. But 2022 is going to be simply fantastic. February is already, if you are a multi-console owner, like I'm almost happy I'm not a multi-console owner this time around, right? I'm almost happy. Like I love having the options, but February is so stacked right now alone. I can't imagine looking at that lineup and going, which ones am I actually going to commit to? Because it's off the charts, and that's just going to roll straight into summer. There's stuff that we still don't even know about, just like this year, that is going to come out of the blue, smack us in the face, and we'll be like, where did this come from? Holy cow, this is great. And then you got Xbox, who is going to be rolling on with Redfall come summertime, Starfield later on, November 11th, 2022, when the world stops and everything else ceases to exist. Starfield is going to drop. And now there is a very good chance by the smoke that's coming out of Turn 10 that Forza Motorsport drops. Look, and again, Sony's going to have aces up their sleeves. We already know that they're going to have Horizon Forbidden West at the beginning of the year.
God of War.
And I know a lot of people are saying there's no way God of War comes out in 2023. All these support studios that just came on board, guess what they're going to be working on? I can guarantee you they have already shifted people to God of War to help that team. They are going to want to bookend. I know Sony has not put stock into holiday. Right? They never really have. They've never launched big games holiday season. However, the game has changed. Xbox has changed their entire perspective. They are going back to the drawing board. They know they have to be in the news. Look what happened for the past 6 months. Sony basically disappeared off the map. That is not smoke. That is not shade at Sony in any way, shape, or form. It's just that Xbox had so much going on that they dominated the news cycles. And you saw the momentum swing happen, the mind share. Look at the articles starting to come out from people in the mainstream media. They are a good canary in the coal mine because they are the last to hear about it before it hits the wider audience, the big audience that Xbox is now shooting for, right? Those are the places that last get that pulse. We see it every day. We feel it every day. So we knew the shift was coming, but they are now starting to write article after article positive about Xbox. So much so that the circus and the clowns are complaining that there's now bias for Xbox, which is so laughable after an entire generation of nonstop Sony praise. But anyways, that's how you know things have changed. So Sony knows that. They know this is business strategy. These are the chess moves. They are going to do everything possible to bookend the year. Beginning of the year with Horizon Forbidden West, and then bookend it with God of War come holiday season. Because next year, holiday season, consoles are probably going to be in greater supply than they are or have been up to this point. Hopefully, again, we've heard that there's some rumblings that may not happen, but let's hope they are. They want a big title to compete with Xbox next year because Xbox otherwise will dominate the holiday season again. Again, think about it. Redfall, which is Arcane, and if anybody can change the looter shooter and create something different that causes a stir, it's Arcane. So do not discredit Redfall just because, it's just going to be another looter shooter. This is Arcane. Okay, they're going to come with something new and something different, and it could blow up. They're going to roll right into Starfield and Forza Motorsport. There will not be a news cycle not dominate, especially if Starfield hits. If Starfield is the blessing that I believe Todd Howard is bringing us, another one of his Skyrim, another one of his once-in-a-generation type titles, Xbox will dominate every single news cycle unless Sony comes to play. And so I think that they're going to do everything possible to have God of War ready by the end of the year. So 2022 is going to be utterly ridiculous. We're not even talking about any of the third-party stuff. We're not talking about any of that. And then if Nintendo drops Breath of the Wild 2 next year, yo.
Yeah, you can,
like I said, Game of the Year awards next year. You thought this year was like wide open. There's going to be so many people complaining about games that did not make the list next year if everything hits properly.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah. That's for sure. Let me go ahead and give some quick shout out. Shout out to Invader Gaming, showing some TXR love here. Appreciate you, OCD Gamer, Others Inc. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Shout out to everybody watching us live right now. Retweet that link. Let everybody know we are live in the Shop Podcast doing that year-end review. We're just chopping it up, talking, having a great time. Once again, chat, let us know how you guys feel about what we're talking about. We love the participation in the chat as usual. So I actually want to go ahead and throw something your way, Fuzz, real quick here. This is specifically for you as far as what he just mentioned. Now, Forza, I haven't. Now, my ear isn't as close to the street, about Forza information and news as you and Pong are. But have you been? Do you think Forza makes next year as well?
I do think it makes next year. I mean, their normal timeline is like a September, October, and right now September is only kind of bookmarked by Deathloop, which, yeah, it's a year-old game at that point. It's making its debut on Xbox, but I think they want to hit home with something that's new for Xbox at the same time. And I think I could definitely see where Forza Motorsport is that new title. Considering they are probably pretty close to completing or just getting down to polishing, because they already got the suspension model and the tire model stuff kind of worked out. They're working on the tire temps, making sure all that stuff plays out accurately as far as contact patch and so forth. So I think a lot of the stuff that we would expect to be ready for launch will be kind of wrapped up by February, and then it'll just be a matter of polishing.
So we're seeing it at E3, is
like
what you're
that.
saying. We're seeing it at E3.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident we'll see it at E3, if not a little bit sooner. Like we may even get a deep dive on it, in February, kind of to take some, not really to take momentum away from
Horizon
Horizon Forbidden West, but I think what it will do is kind of preemptively, shadow or overshadow Gran Turismo, which I believe is set for March. So if they, kind of strike first while the news cycle is hot, I think it will kind of shoot or take a shot across the bow against Gran Turismo 7. They'll be, releasing in March. But
did you see those videos on Gran Turismo 7, by the way?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We're not. Wait a minute. I know where you're going. You're trying to see.
I don't think they need to shoot anything over the bow.
No, I see the one thing.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
With Gran Turismo, I'm wondering if this is, shown on PS5 or if it's shown on PS4, or if it's just a matter of this is before the polishing aspect.
I hope what they showed is the PS4 base model, because otherwise there's problems. The buildings, wow.
It looks like GT Sport does now, which isn't bad, but after seeing Forza Horizon 5, I know they can do better. Because it's not open world. With it being a circuit, the scenery should be a good bit better, and they've done better in the past in certain aspects. So I'm hoping that this is just kind of like the rough drafts that we're seeing. But it's I think we do hear something about motorsport, just before Gran Turismo drops, and we probably hear it again at E3, and a full fleshed out, like, word is possibly like not really open world, but maybe an open world hub, kind of like what you talked about before, where it was more of like a hub setup where you're traveling from track to track. There might be like activities between the tracks or between the the events and things like that. So,
and they're talking more community stuff too.
That's always good. That's always
good. If they go back to the Forza Motorsport 4 days when community was a big thing and they've got that kind of stuff implemented, they bring that stuff back that's been missing. That will be a huge part of that, especially if they're doing that type of hub world where everybody's going to be. If it's more of a games of service type, which we've heard, right? They're going to continue this, just updating it and upgrading it and adding things to it as we go through the years instead of a new iteration all the time. If they do that, then they really have an opportunity to bring back the community stuff and build a extremely strong community kind of social aspect to Forza, which has been a little bit lacking lately.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think the big thing for motorsport, if they can nail down like dirt racing or rally racing, like Horizon has done an excellent job at it, and motorsport really hasn't focused on the off-road stuff. They've always focused on the pavement stuff, which is great, but I want to see drag racing more detailed, like real drag racing is. I want to see some rally racing or like Pikes Peak level stuff, which, yes, I know you can do in Horizon 5, but I want it in motorsport where the tunes are a little bit more set on like the weight distribution, the wing angle and things like that, as far as downforce and such. So I'm hoping, like, they've listened a lot in the drifting community. I want them to put that same, I don't like using the word same energy, but I want them to put that same effort towards some of the other, specialties in racing and things. Like they got the circuit stuff down. Drag racing could use some love. Off-road racing or rally racing or even arena racing, which is, becoming more and more popular. That a lot of that stuff could use some extra love. But I definitely think we see motorsport next year, and the backlog, the catalog, library, whatever you want to call
crazy.
It's definitely going to pile up. But I mean, there's going to be a pretty stacked year from top to bottom, all across the board. I mean, even in the PC space, there's a lot of big ones that are coming out, and ones that might make it to console as well.
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting to see the 6 Days in Fallujah to see if, because I know it's coming to console, but I don't know if it's going to be same date as when it drops on PC. There's Ready or Not, which I think is already in like alpha or beta, which is kind of like a more of an expanded version of Rainbow Six Siege, but more tactics, and I guess it's more realistic AI as far as when you're doing breaching and things like that. So I'm curious to see a lot of these games make it. And then I think it was the day after or something like that, which was kind of like the Division clone with zombies.
With zombies, and State of Decay meets the Division. Yeah. Oh man, I cannot wait for that one too. See, that's what I'm talking about. We don't even realize.
We're not even getting to that point, Fuzz. You opening a can of worms, a Pandora's box.
Do you know what E3 is going to be like next year?
Oh, it's going to be insane.
Do you have it?
That's another thing. I want to talk about that too.
What happens if Microsoft gets? What happens if Xbox gets Age of Empires out on the console next year?
Oh, that's another thing. That's another big thing people have been asking for. If that can happen, that's a whole nother group of people right there.
And I think that's a strong possibility.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. For 100% sure. So I'm going to throw something to you, Centurion, here real quick. We're going to bring it back to 2021 again. And I know we were talking about the indie devs earlier, smaller devs kind of carrying, us. They really did, because we usually experience that summer lull, that May through August kind of lull. We didn't get any of that this year. We got constant games with the help of Game Pass, but it really, really was kudos to a lot of the small devs. They carried us the first 6-7 months of this year with, It Takes Two and Death's Door and a ton of other games that I'm not even talking about right now that I can't remember. But where you at on that, since you see more of that next year in 2022?
Oh, for sure. We're seeing great strides in independent development. You even said It Takes Two, but 12 Minutes with William Dafoe and I forget the other actor. That was an amazing story to play. If you've not checked out 12 Minutes, for a very, very simple game that literally takes place in like 3 rooms. You find yourself doing this for hours. You just get lost playing that one game alone. I really see the independent developer scene getting even better now that we're seeing like a big push for the Unreal Engine on both consoles, which the Unreal Engine, if people didn't know, it's actually free to use until your game sells X amount of copies or makes a certain amount of money, in which case then you do have to pay for the Unreal Engine. You got to give them like a cut of your profits. But I really do feel, as a result of the technology becoming easier for developers to use, it's not as expensive, because we're seeing some companies even pushing a cloud tech version of game development. So you don't need to have these great big immaculate computers all laying around that can develop these games. Some of it's being done in the cloud. The sky's the limit when it comes to the independent scene. What is the Somerville? That game, Somerville, dude, that game has me intrigued. There was another one that kind of reminded me of
Atomic Heart.
Oh, dude, God. Atomic Heart. Oh,
yeah,
dude, Atomic Heart is an amazing game.
Sleeper.
Yeah, for real. But I'm talking like it was like one of the first games shown at the VGA. It was like, it reminded me of, what's the one on PlayStation where you're always like on the horse chasing like giants or something like that?
Oh, the Shadow of Colossus one, the one that looks similar to that. I know exactly what you're talking about, but it's called. It's
I'm
pretty much the same game. If we're being honest, I just looked at and I didn't know this game existed.
Planet of Lana.
Is that what it's called?
Planet of Lana, that one, and I've heard that that's actually going to be a time. I've
Pong,
heard.
didn't you talk about that game recently? Didn't you?
Yeah,
you
Project Lana. Yeah, that was on my list because we had seen that previous to the VGAs as well, and they kind of gave us a new look at it during the Game Awards. And yeah, that one looks better and better every time we see it. And I believe that is Xbox exclusive, console exclusive.
It's not timed. I knew it was an exclusive, but I don't know if it's timed or not.
I can't remember if that's one of the ones they're actually publishing on console or if it's just a time. I think you might be right with the timed exclusivity on that one. But yeah,
I do know it's coming to Game Pass. I know that was one of the
that was part of the deal. But I think it was shown at one of the ID at Xbox shows. First.
Another independent game that's going to probably come out is that Metal Hellsinger game.
Oh yeah. The Doom-like metal game.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, really, we're starting to. In my opinion, we're starting to see independent games that are starting to rival even AAA studio games.
We said that 6 months ago. We had a show specifically about that.
Yeah, and that's where, and it's starting to be absolutely prevalent that's happening. Like, I mean, like Tunic is going to come out in March. It's a Zelda-esque style game that I am totally looking forward to, and because of the good gentleman here on this show, that game was completely not on my radar until all of a sudden PTK and Fuzzy Belvedere is like, have you seen Tunic? What's Tunic?
Another convert, another one.
Yeah, I know, right? And like, I mean, like, dude, like, I look forward to more of these style games lately than I've given up completely on Destiny and other games on that level. And I'm finding myself looking forward to more of, in my opinion, the more creative folks in gaming, which are these independent developers that are willing to push the envelope and try new things and try to kind of grab that brass ring and capture lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a big, and we love small devs on this show. This is one thing that we've always, and I'm proud of myself. I'm giving myself some damn credit here. I've always tried to make it a point to show smaller devs love and give them their proper credit, because I really do believe that is the think tank of the industry. That's where all the ideas actually come from. Sometimes they get them from there and then they end up being something completely different, but the essence of the idea came from a smaller game, and they do have a lot of flexibility. They do a lot of creative things that a lot of these larger studios just aren't able to do. So I 100% agree with you. So let's talk about something else here now. This is something that was kind of a big deal. Now, it's not necessarily was game of the year. Was there anything wrong with the actual game of the year? Because It Takes Two, very, very deserving game of the year. So any different choices that you guys would have made as far as what was your official game of the year?
I'll start. For me, Psychonauts definitely. Now, keep in mind, I haven't played It Takes Two yet, and I really need to. I just gotta find somebody that's gonna have a similar schedule to kind of do the duo with. But before Psychonauts 2, for me, 12 minutes was that game. And I know there was a lot of people that kind of was like, and got stuck at certain points, but me trying to think outside the box and stabbing other things throughout the apartment, like parts of the wall, the picture, the couch, although it didn't turn up anything until I stabbed the light socket type of deal. But to me, that it felt like, I don't want to say an interactive movie, but it was kind of along those lines, like I'm in a Hitchcock movie and I got to figure this out, and there's only but so many leads that I can follow, and it's like, all right, I got to try something different. And once you kind of realize that, then it just opens up a whole new aspect to the game. But 12 minutes was definitely up there for me this year. Psychonauts 2 kind of beat that one out. Some honorable mentions, The Artful Escape, although I between 12 minutes and The Artful Escape, I would still edge out 12 minutes would edge out just a smidge, but it was definitely a well done indie studio or indie developed game. But it was kind of a shame that Psychonauts didn't get anything from the Game Awards itself. But
Tim wore a nice suit and everything.
Yeah,
got dressed all nice.
But it for me, it was the game that I didn't expect much from. I didn't expect much from the studio. You know, I know that's blasphemy for a lot of Double Fine fans, but it just wasn't on my radar. And I was like, all right, it's in Game Pass. I'm gonna try it, and I got hooked so much to the point where I actually wound up buying the game as well as buying Ratchet and Clank because I'm not a platformer gamer anymore. Like
Yeah.
that's not what I prefer or pursue to play. So the fact that it kind of converted me in that moment so much so to the point where I'm looking at other platformer games that I would have probably ignored. And there were three strong candidates because it looks like It Takes Two is another very strong platformer candidate with more puzzles to it. It's, you know, I would say that was a game changer for me, and it deserved more than what was reflected at the Game Awards. And I'm pretty sure there's other outlets that will give it some praise and some accolades and stuff. But Psychonauts 2 was it for me, and then 12 Minutes was a close second. But like I said, I need to play It Takes Two.
Yeah, no, I completely. So obviously, you guys know where I'm at with the game. Psychonauts was my game of the year. For a lot of the reasons Fuzz said. Now I know chat. Hopefully, you guys agree with me about this, but I think it was the most creative game of the entire year. I think that for the expectations, for what it was able to achieve, taking something as controversial as mental health and making it fun. Like you can hand that to a kid and not worry about them like feeling like, oh, I'm playing something crazy. It's still like friendly enough that you can hand it to a kid and they'll still enjoy the game, but it tackles some real life issues. Like if you're an adult, you really understand what that game is about. And the creativity in which those issues are tackled, I think did it for me. And like Fuzz said, like I didn't have really many expectations. I really didn't. I didn't know what we were going to get. I mean, I knew the first game was a good game, but this completely blew me out of the water. The creativity, the level design, the art direction, the characters, the voice actors, everything was on point. And I don't think if you're gonna give me like a list and say here's 10 boxes, I think for me that game checks off the most boxes for me what a game of the year looks like. So I don't know about you, Pong or Centurion, but I think that kind of put a bow on it for me. I think Halo would have been, if it made the cut, Halo would have been a great game of the year. I don't know if it'll make the cut next year. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But where you guys at on that?
How interesting would it have been had Halo and even Forza come out a little bit earlier and made
Crazy.
the cut, right?
Crazy.
How interesting those game awards would have been. Look, you know me, I'm all about the small people. So if a game this was a wide open year. First of all, I have a hard time with this stuff because I don't play every game, right?
Same.
And I don't.
That's fair.
It's very hard for me. But I can look at games. I didn't play It Takes Two. It's not my style of game. Neither is Psychonauts 2, but I gave Psychonauts 2 because it's a single player experience, and I was interested. I love Double Fine's writing. I love Tim Schafer's brain, right? It's pure and simple. So I really gave that one a shot because of that. I have a bias towards that, and I give them leeway. It Takes Two, even though I love Joseph Fares and I love some of his past games as far as what I've seen from them, just never really spoke to me as much.
Yeah.
But I did watch, like Mav and Caitlin played it, like 3-Bit and Lady, shout out to them. They played it as well and streamed it. And I was watching them and I got all their feedback. Like every time Xbox Ultimate was on each week, they were all playing the game at the same time together. So I'd hear all about it in the green room, right? Because they could not stop talking about it. It's Mavs. Up until Halo, it was Mavs game of the year, right?
Yeah, I remember him saying it.
Yeah. So for me, I can hear feedback and I can see people's reactions. I can watch stuff on these games and I can get a good sense of them because I've been gaming for so long. That's where I think people go wrong with a lot of gatekeeping. However, I have not had hands-on. So for me, Psychonauts 2 was the choice. I thought this was the year, and I'm going to say again, I am biased towards Double Fine and Tim Schafer. Tim Schafer and Double Fine have been doing such good work for so many decades. I thought this was the year that the media, the journalists, the gaming, supposed gaming, experts, the ones out there that have played all these different types of games, etc., would finally give Tim Schafer and his team some awards because they deserve them just because of what they've done. But they also put out probably their most complete and best overall biggest game ever, right?
Agreed.
And they nailed it. and they nailed it, right? And like you talked about PTK, it had
Oh.
all the beats that normally award shows look for. It talked about tough subjects. It had great subject matter. It treated it respectfully. It had humor. It had drama. It had everything you look for in a game on top of very tight platforming, on top of creative puzzles, on top of
it was difficult. It wasn't an easy game.
Right. On top of creative level designs, you were playing different styles of games at points. All of that going into play, I thought Psychonauts 2 was the easy pick. And it didn't get it. And it got snubbed of all awards, which is just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. And I feel bad for that team over there. But, Tim Schafer took it in stride. Anyways, if it wasn't going to win with this wide open year, I was okay with It Takes Two winning because again, Joseph Ferris, great guy from all accounts. The guy has nothing but a bundle of energy. Again, one of the success stories coming out of EA that we forget that EA does have this weird dynamic where they are considered this overly greedy company that everybody loves to hate with their sports franchises and all this kind of stuff. And yet at the same time, they do throw money back to the indie community and they do support indie titles. And they've done that for a very long time. That's how Respawn actually got in with EA, is because they joined them as an independent developer to develop the first Titanfall. They were receiving funds from EA through their indie development program. So for me to see It Takes Two win and have all my friends, a lot of my friends in the community play it and tell me that it was that great of a game, I'm okay with that. That's great. I'm glad to see him get the award over some of the other big dogs. Again, this was the weird year. This was an open year. We didn't have those, 3, 4, 5 big home run games from the big companies that really dominated the talk, right? We just didn't have that. We had some really good games in there. But we just didn't have the domination that we normally see on a year-to-year basis. So it was great to see an indie title take it home. It broke through that kind of glass ceiling. Hades took home a lot of awards, but it did not get the Game of the Year award at the TGAs. So I thought that was awesome to see. Again, it just would have been interesting had Halo and even Forza been out a month earlier and gotten consideration to see where it would have gone. That would have been something right there. But great to see it. I'm happy with that. Just with Psychonauts 2 didn't get snubbed the way it did. So
all right. So where you at on this, Centurion?
Well, my game of the year and its runner-up are both two titles that were not on my radar at all until I started seeing the hype for them, and I decided to check them both out, and I enjoyed them both considerably. My runner-up was obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, a game that I had my doubts on because I got burned on Avengers. I didn't think Square Enix should be trusted with a Marvel game. And like I've said, boy, is it good to be wrong. Total great experience, very deserving of the best narrative award that they got. The story was very in-depth. They treated all the Guardians of the Galaxy and the characters that surround them with a lot of respect. They gave them great narration. I feel like I have to agree with other members in the community that Drax in this game felt like he had more character to him than he did in both movies. I loved their language style. I was laughing because they would cuss, but they didn't cuss like you would think. They would say flark and other things to enunciate cuss words, which totally had me laughing. And it's been a while since my wife has actually sat down and watched me play a game, and she just enjoyed watching the banter between the Guardians of the Galaxy and the little whips they'd send at each other and all the trash talking and the support that they'd give. It was a very great experience. But my game of the year falls right in line with everybody here on the show, and that's Psychonauts 2. Great message, great looking game, great direction of a game, awesome artistry. Tim Schafer and his team over there deserve a handshake and a pat on the back. Heck, if I could, I would make them my own game award and mail it to them.
I thought about doing that. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, right? I'll even make it out of macaroni and Elmer's glue. But definitely, they did a very good job. That game struck a heartstring for me. because it definitely tackled some serious issues. I loved how everything was thought out to, like, you know, like how like doubts weigh you down and all these other an enabler. I laughed at the enabler because they're like walking around with a parade baton and just enabling the other enemies to fight you harder. Basically, you're enabling your own bad emotions. I completely thought that was great. He did a very, very, very good job, and he is very deserving of the recognition of what he accomplished. We all knew the game wasn't supposed to have boss battles. It was going to be crowdfunded due to Microsoft's intervention and acquiring them and giving them money. They were able to turn this game into an even bigger masterpiece. So kudos goes out to Tim Schafer and his team. Psychonauts 2 is my personal game of the year.
See, I mean, look, listen, there's a lot, and this is not a dig at, like I said, It Takes Two. I think everybody who actually won any awards are actually deserving of those awards, but like ultimately, I just think Psychonauts 2 not winning anything did not sit well with me at all, and I can't be any more honest and upfront about that because I just think that for what you're getting, what the game offers, you know, the package the game was presented in is just too good of a. It's too good. It's just too good.
I'll come out and say it. I enjoy what Bethesda puts out. I went out and got Deathloop for the PS5. It did not deserve the award for best artistic direction. That should have went to Psychonauts 2 because that was one of the games in that category, and somehow Deathloop scored that. I do not know why. Don't get me wrong, it's a great concept of a game, but I mean, it looks like Dishonored, and it reminded me of other games that have come from that studio where I feel that the artistic direction of Psychonauts 2 was very, very unique, and it didn't remind me of any other game.
No, I understand. I completely agree. So, and then once again, it's something that it's all subjective at the end of the day. So I do want to bring something else up. What do we think 2021 is going to be defined for? What do you think happened, or not necessarily may have happened, but what do you think when you think back on 2021 as we roll into 2022, what do you think is going to be the defining moment and or game of this year? Like, anybody got any ideas?
Popular answer, Halo. King's back, right? The King coming back and showing everybody why it takes the place in history of video games that it did. I think that, you know, again, it's a small scale choice to just pick one game, you know, but I think that Halo sets the tone going forward for Xbox, again, because of the turmoil, the ups and downs it went through to get here, for all the pressure, for that year delay, for which I still say to this day is one of the most courageous things that has been done.
Oh man,
in gaming. Right. It is like, even when you go back and watch the document Power On, when they talk, the parallels between Halo 2 and Halo Infinite are just so interesting. I would say even that delay was not as impactful as this
one. Yeah.
Correct.
I agree.
It just, like I said, sometimes things just all come together at the right moment, even if you can't see it, even if it doesn't feel good at the time, you look back on it and go, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. And I think Phil and his team are going to look back at this and go, the Halo delay was the best thing that could have happened to us, because they did not need it with the chip shortages and everything else. They didn't need Halo. It was a disappointment. It was a black mark. It was kind of a bruise for them at the launch. They had everything around it planned. You know, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars potentially in marketing deals that, you know, Phil has to walk into Satya's office and say, yeah, Satya, you know about that Halo thing. Yeah. Hey, listen, I know you dropped a check and, you know, it costs us $100 million for these marketing deals, but yeah, we're going to have to push this thing back a year. To go and do that for the betterment of 343, for the betterment of your brand, and then for 343
paid off
to step up, to make the decision to bring Joseph Staten back into the fold, solidifying everything, bringing stability, starting over, rebuilding the confidence with the community, with their openness about what they were doing and where it was going, kind of showing us where they were at with things. Then to bring out the flighting and to prove to people the multiplayer, as we had heard, was ready, and they just spent all this time polishing it so that it just shined like a freaking diamond at this point when they did the flighting. And then to build that momentum back up from a down, to dig yourself a hole and not only get yourself out of that hole, but to start building momentum again. And then to launch the way it did with the beta, as far as the multiplayer goes.
Tests.
And the flight tests, right, exactly. And then to have the campaign drop. And yes, there's been criticism there. But again, at the end of the day, if the worst criticism you get out of a game that has a campaign single player and has a multiplayer as gigantic as Halo, with as many expectations, if the worst criticisms you're getting is how your XP isn't fast enough and how the cosmetics may cost too much, look, you've done everything right, because the vultures were circling looking for anything in the gameplay to come after. Any little chink in the armor was going to get it. And you know what? The worst it could come up was XP system sucks, progression system sucks, and you're going to charge us all this money for cosmetics when every other game does it, right? That's like the worst part of it. Oh, and I'm sorry, they also did not have the God, why can't playlist? They didn't have the custom playlist, so you couldn't pick Slayer and that kind of stuff, which was kind of a big deal. But at the end of the day, whatever. So if that's the worst that you get out of it, but to take that delay, really, I think that defines this generation, because they took Forza. Look, you had Flight Sim, you had Psychonauts 2, right? You had all these little third-party games in between, all of them building momentum. You have Age of Empires 4 launch on PC to really, really great reviews. And then all of a sudden you drop Forza Horizon 5, which absolutely explodes, 12 million players in a little over a week or whatever it was. You have that explode on the scene. You have people clamoring for that to get Game of the Year nominations and that whole controversy, but that's all positive, because that means people really like the game and want it to be there and think it's being excluded for the wrong reasons. And then drop Halo in the shape that it's in. That just rolls right into 2022. So I think that right there is the mark. I think that is the one thing I can look at that's going to define going forward for Xbox for sure.
That's definitely, Halo put his stamp on 2021 for sure. Put a nice little bow tie right at the ass end. And I think I agree with you, just based on the expectations. That is a lot of pressure. Like they had to get Halo right. Like this Halo had to be done the way it was done. Nobody was expecting anything else. And to be honest, to perform the way they perform under the amount of stress and pressure, especially after that first reveal, it's nothing short of amazing. They're a top tier dev, and there's nothing anybody can say about it. They're right up there with the Naughty Dogs. They're right up there. I know some people may feel like they need to continually prove it, do it more than once. They have, and they're going to continue to do so. And we're seeing shades of that already. The quick turnaround on the updates. I mean, these updates are coming out, within weeks. You get the people arguing about the playlist on Monday. The update's out on Friday. With the playlist already ready to go.
Exactly.
So it's the insane, the turnaround, everything that they've been able to do in this short period of time, nothing short of amazing. And we can spread the credit all over 2021. It was really a banner year. And I think if we want to throw another thing, I think Game Pass, you can make an argument.
Yeah, that's the bigger look. The xCloud and Game Pass. Yeah, right? That's the bigger look.
And maybe Fuzz or Centurion touches on this a little bit, but I think Game Pass deserves some recognition as well. I don't know where the numbers at, and I don't even think that's the most important thing about Game Pass. People keep harping on the numbers. It's what's happening with Game Pass. The quality is getting better. The cadence is picking up. They're dropping higher quality games. There's more smaller indie devs, being added into Game Pass all the time. We're getting amazing games on a consistent basis, and it's not slowing down. That process is actually accelerating. So maybe you touch on this, Fuzz, but what would you say is your standout for 2021? Like if you were to think back when we get to next year, what stuck out for you?
Game Pass is definitely up there. I think Dragon Yobi and K Mega had made mention of this as well, tying into the whole Game Pass deal was the cloud, being able to play games through the cloud.
I was just playing MK11 on the cloud before the show.
Yeah. So and the fact that you can't get some of the consoles as readily as you would like, you can't just walk into most stores and be like, oh yeah, I want a Series X. Your Xbox One or your Xbox One X still has a useful life ahead of it, playing the next gen games via the cloud through that X Cloud or the Game Pass Ultimate setup.
Now experiences may vary. We do have to say
true.
that.
True. It's going to really depend on your internet connection and how everything is set up, but at least I would say for a majority of the people in the States that have a decent broadband of 25 up and better, it should be able to be a reasonable experience where, yeah, it's not going to be as great as native, but it's definitely going to expand or extend the life of that console until you can pick up one of the consoles, or until they're more readily available, or until the price is right for you. So it's a big, I don't know, it's kind of like a big gift to some extent to a lot of those out there that aren't able to get the next gen right off the bat or within the first year or so. So this will help casuals, and this will help a lot of the hardcore that right now their 1X is basically what they're going to work with until something's a little bit more easy to obtain. So that I think is huge. Just that extends the life, that opens up the catalog towards those that wouldn't have been able to normally access those games until they got the new console. So it's a big tribute to their fans. Game Pass as a whole, I don't worry about the numbers because right now, to be honest, the numbers don't affect my gameplay. All it seems to do is make them hungrier to make more deals, to get things either day and date or work on getting games that you may have been on the fence to try, and you find out, hey, I'll play this for now. Oh yeah, this thing is everything I expected it would be or better, and you wind up buying it at a discount. So it saves you money whether you're just playing it and moving on to the next favorite game, or you plan on buying these games, with like a quick trial type of thing, and you can get a discount on it later. I mean, having 2 kids and each of them having their own Game Pass subscription and stuff. So it's like, yeah, this definitely helps. I mean, sure, there's always, the regular store sales and things like that. But if something's in Game Pass, it gets that little extra 10 or 15 or 20% after like 60 days or something like that. So it's a big help in any way you look at it. Outside of that, good. There's just been so much like it. I think that the atmosphere in gaming in general has changed to the point where, yeah, there's some toxicity out there, but it's not like the annoying, nagging, just nonsense talk of like this Pong refers to them as the clowns talking about, oh, Xbox got no games. Clearly, you haven't been paying attention if you're saying Xbox doesn't have any games. There's so many games to the point where you got to figure out a way to be able to play them all, or even try them all at within the time frame that they're either in Game Pass or from launch time to before they go on sale or something. So just in general, this year has been awesome as far as just so many titles coming to Game Pass, so many games in general, because like we've been saying, the flood is just starting type of deal. But I don't know. Game Pass was huge, but I think the xCloud thing was even bigger, and the fact that you don't have to take up hard drive space. You could test the game out, and if you really do enjoy the game, especially considering how precious hard drive space is, or SSD space, I should say, is these days. Yeah, you don't have to bother downloading the whole game until you're sure, okay, this is definitely one that I'm gonna want to play further type of deal. So just the whole Game Pass, cloud gaming. It's not anywhere close to replacing native, but it's sure a nice alternative, a nice useful option to have right now.
Oh yeah. I use it as often as I possibly can. To be fair, I use it on a lot of single player games, because the online stuff can be a bit shaky because there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more processing going on usually within the game, and it can be a bit shaky. But for the single player stuff, it's worked phenomenally for me. I don't know about anybody else's experience. I do have really good internet, to be fair, but for me, it's been amazing. Like I said, I was playing MK11. I watched my son play online earlier, and he didn't have any issues playing the game at all. So it's super, super innovative, super forward thinking. So I want to throw that over to you as well, Centurion. Get your opinion on what do you think when you look back on 2021 is going to be that defining moment for 2021? It's been if we're really being honest, it's been a super consistent year. We haven't really had very too many lulls. Like, what would be the low point of last year? Like Cyberpunk, right? Wouldn't that be considered the low point of last year? I would assume. We didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, there were some games that came out that didn't necessarily. Most games came out and hit. This is a weird year that I can't remember really any games coming out just like falling on their face. Like, I guess Call of Duty.
I can
maybe
name one or a couple now.
Maybe Call of Duty. But like, we kind of, that was always, you can read the tea leaves, you can be Ray Charles. You didn't even need to see that coming.
Well, the one that people didn't see coming was the Grand Theft Auto trilogy.
Yeah, but
Fuzzy chuckled.
That's nowhere near Cyberpunk though.
I've heard a lot of people compare it to Cyberpunk.
No, no. It's nowhere near. So people were up in arms about Cyberpunk. The state Cyberpunk was in on consoles.
That was another mob. That was another mob about Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk was a lot better, and now people are discovering it again.
Well, I'm just saying the initial. Okay, you're gonna fight me on this. I know you are, but the initial impression. I'm just saying I think people were more upset about Cyberpunk than they were about GTA. Was my point.
Outriders fell on his face.
That one too.
True. I mean,
it had success because it was a Game Pass, but the server problems were nonstop from the beginning.
And then the whole wipe inventory bug that they had, that kind of killed the progress. You're right. There were some, but I don't know, man. It didn't feel like it, though. It didn't really feel like that bothered. I didn't really have time to think about it much.
Cyberpunk's a once-in-a-generation thing.
No, so a lot of the stuff with Cyberpunk, they actually did have some stuff come out. Their investors did sue them. And I think it was like $1.8 million that they had to pay their investors for botching that.
Yeah. Which is a really low amount, by the way.
Well, but still, I mean, like, it definitely just goes to show now that I think that since they had to pay their investors that money, I'm pretty sure a couple other publishers now are like, well, maybe patching the game isn't exactly what we thought it was. We can't shove a game out like that. But at least for me, I want to say, I know with Cyberpunk, at least on the developer side, it was completely over ambitious. I know the publisher itself, the publishing arm of them, kind of fibbed on some things with the game, but I don't know. For some reason, I expected more when it came from Rockstar Games, when it came to the remasters that they were doing, and some of the things that just came out. I mean, like the issue with the rain, the character, it was just like there was just they relied too heavily on an AI to basically help remaster the game, and that essentially bit them in the butt.
Well, and they used the mobile version.
They also use the mobile version.
That's always a problem.
That's always the problem. But I want to say I could see that a lot of the issues definitely stemmed outside of from being a mobile version was that they used an AI to do the game, and the AI basically had free reign. It was misspelling things because what were gags in the original game, the AI was trying to correct. And it was doing things to the game that they completely did not expect. And I just feel like maybe the developers rushed through it, but maybe that's on Rockstar. But I don't know. But
it was a Centurion. You've heard the story, right?
Oh, it was a cash grab all the way.
Well, because contractually, if Rockstar, if 2K is to sell, right? If they sell off, which there's been smoke about that in the past, if they wind up selling, they had to have this game out there at by a certain date, I think it was by the end of this year, for their top brass to continue to receive royalties on it after a sale.
Wow.
So there was a time limit, so they had to get these games out.
Yeah.
And that was a big
that
deal.
was
That's
bad
why it was
business.
okay. Yeah.
See, I just see that, to me, just seems even like, when you hear it like that, it just seems even more shadier.
Oh yeah.
When with CD Projekt Red, it's not like these guys met in a boardroom and like, hey, everybody, we're gonna lie. We made the game way too complex. Over ambition really got the best of them with Cyberpunk. But here's the thing: I've actually waited this long to play Cyberpunk. I'm actually getting that itch to want to try it out. They've really fixed the game. I play on a Series X. I don't think I'm going to run into any big problems. But now my internal debate is, I've waited this long. Do I just wait for that big Series X patch, or is it even coming?
Yeah, no,
I think they delayed that until sometime this coming summer or something, didn't they?
I thought like March of next year, March, April, something like that. I have no idea.
First quarter 2022.
But man, but you're right. There has been some crazy stuff that's happened this year, but there's also been some really great high points to this year. I mean, like, dude, I'm just excited for what everything. I don't have enough time to play the games I've got. Game Pass is a total monster, and now they're just finding more and more ways to deliver it. I find myself using xCloud at work when I'm stuck at work and I have to just basically babysit, and I'm just sitting there playing on my phone. It's kind of hilarious now that whoever thought that you could be playing Xbox games on your phone. That is completely like a new innovation to me, that you can actually pack up your library with you, or a small amount of your library. But yeah, dude, I can't really top off what everybody else here has said when it comes to Game Pass. It's an amazing service. I've had an absolute blast using it. I used to be one of those holdouts that were like, I'm going to buy my games physical. I have physical copies of State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves. There's a couple other. I even have Halo Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 physical. And I mean, when I made that switch over to getting my games digitally and also getting into Game Pass, I mean, I have not looked back.
Yeah. The funny thing is, just to kind of bring this up, and and shout out to the chat for bringing this up. Rockstar actually is low key they have not been good this year. Like, this was a down year for Rockstar.
One game this generation.
Yeah, no.
They released one game last generation.
Well, it's to be as in the standard that I like, in the echelon that I regard them. At one point, I had them like as the singular, probably most, I won't say important developer, but yeah, probably the singular most important developer in like gaming, period. Like, outside of like, obviously Sega, Nintendo, the actual like large ones, but. Like, I don't know. And Fuzz, I know you got your theories, Fuzz. Fuzz has been sitting on these goddamn theories for like 3 years now that all this stuff is going on at Rockstar. And actually, it's a lot of stuff's coming to light with that company, and it actually really was a down year. I didn't expect the remaster to be as bad as it was, and for people to take it the way they took it. And you consider that this company that makes one game for a specific amount of time. You haven't done anything with the actual story. Everything is always online. You would think that they would be able to handle something on that scale, and just to see them fumble the ball, that Fuzz, you may be like, you may have been onto something with your suspicion with Rockstar.
Well, the whole thing that's funny to me, they just added the Dr. Dre storyline for online,
I saw that, with Franklin.
Where they could have made that part of the single player and collected $20 from almost everybody that has like 3 copies of the game. I would almost bet more than half of those 100 and some odd million copies it sold, although a lot of them are repeat copies and whatnot. But let's just say I think over 20 million Grand Theft Auto players would have bought that single player DLC. Hands down. Make it $20 or $19.99 or whatever. Hands down, that would have sold like gangbusters in the first 30 days, or probably in the first 24 hours. Any kind of anything of single player DLC, they would have sold. They could have put a $20 price tag on it, then taken that to the bank. Instead, adding it to online, they hope you buy a shark card, and if you're not going to grind the story, you'll buy the stuff from the story via the shark card. I get it. That's the model that they're used to, but it's clear as day. Dan Houser leaving was like pretty much the brainchild of a lot of the story aspect of everything Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto, or Red Dead Redemption wise, and pretty much his swan song was Red Dead Redemption 2. So I think whatever single player DLC ideas he had that he didn't finish, where they were talking about it before, where Franklin was going to do some sort of single player DLC stuff that they said back in 2014 or 2015 or something. This is probably some sort of spin-off or add-on to that. And they're like, you know what? If we get a celebrity in here, and then, yeah, we could probably sell a bunch of shark cards and whatnot. But it just, I don't know. I knew if Rockstar wasn't going to use their current Rage engine, I think is what they call it, if they weren't going to use that from like Grand Theft Auto 5 or even, Red Dead Redemption 2 to remaster those, it was going to be a flop. I knew there were a lot of people that'd be like, oh, nostalgia, I'll buy it. But I knew it was not going to be an honest remaster if it was anything less than that. And the fact that they made a lot of the, the modders out there pull stuff down because of this coming out. And it was like, you could see clear as day that, they're pulling that down or having them pull that down. Oh, obviously there's going to be some sort of, remaster coming soon, because that's the whole thing. They're like, well, we only do this when we're getting ready to sell something. So we don't have this competition with ourselves or the modders or whatever. I would say it was a cash grab, but it just feels more seedy than that. It just, I don't know. I'm glad I didn't pick it up. I hope they get their act together, and I pray that Phil and the Microsoft team over there do not consider picking up Take-Two. I hope whatever rumors about acquiring that dies. I hope they drive it into a ditch and set it on fire. Just if they pick up Take-Two, I think it will be the downfall of Xbox. I'm calling it now, because that right now they're an anchor. They have some very profitable or potentially profitable IPs, but Microsoft is going to or Xbox would pick them up and have them run themselves, and they will run themselves further into the ditch. I pray that Xbox doesn't pick them up.
I got a little brighter outlook than that, Fuzzy, but I think Red Dead.
I think Red Dead 2 I just lit a candle for Rockstar.
I think Red Dead 2 proves that they still have something to offer, right? And NBA 2K still has something to offer. So I think there is still some stuff there. With what they've done with Grand Theft Auto, and you're right, they're not the same company since they left, right? You're absolutely correct. I agree with you 100%. But that's because a lot of it is investor driven now.
Yeah.
If they come underneath Xbox and Microsoft, they wouldn't have to worry about that investors, much like ZeniMax forced Bethesda to put out Fallout 76, basically, right? As kind of a last ditch cash grab, right? So that stuff kind of goes away when you get that umbrella. So I think they could actually get back to what they do best. I don't know if they're ever going to be the same Rockstar. Yeah. Again, I'm highly disappointed in Rockstar from back in the day when they were putting out 2-3 games a year of all different kinds. Just off the wall stuff that you never, like Oni, right? Off the wall stuff that you never expected from that team. I want them to get back to that creativeness. I don't know if they can culturally, but at the end of the day, I think without the investors hanging over their head, I think it might be a little different. But I do get your fear. I do understand your fear for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. I think that and I've always said this about Rockstar. They kind of Madden or EA'd themselves in a way. They got, and it's not. It sometimes it happens when you get so large, something becomes like it's. I mean, GTA prints money. The game comes out, it sells 50 to 80 million, or even 100 million in this particular case copies. That's just how it works. The game comes out, it's going to break a record in the first day. Within a week, it's going to break another record. Then it's going to continue to break records from that point forward. It prints money. So I think they've definitely been able to sit on their hands And like Fuzz said, I think, the guy Dan Houser leaving, the brains left. It's very similar to the Halo Infinite situation where you had to bring in somebody that knows what they're doing. They had to bring in Joseph Staten to get that original feeling, that original Halo idea back. I don't know if they'll be able to recapture that at Rockstar. That's the scary part. Or do they even want to at this point? Like, do they? Is that even like, we hear about other games, like we hear about Bully 2. Wasn't there some rumor that there was a playable build of Bully 2 or something, or some playable version of the game somewhere in the wild? Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe. I doubt that they go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the other thing that they were trying to do before EA beat them was they were trying to acquire Codemasters, and there was that glimmer in everybody's eye that, maybe a Midnight Club will make a reappearance type of thing. But it just seemed like they only made like a half effort kind of bid on it or something. So I don't know. It's weird over there. I do agree, Pong, that having their investors over their head kind of, saying, make us more money is a problem. And hopefully that would go away with an acquisition. But, it's just, I don't know.
No,
bad gut feeling from it.
Yeah, and I get why too. I mean, I do understand. I just have a little bit more positive outlook if it was Xbox, right? Yeah. Just because it's so big, and just because that pressure comes off, that there's still talent over there. It may not be what it used to be, but there's still talent there.
And you can directly use that ZeniMax Bethesda acquisition as a comparison too. So you can apps, because it's not necessarily the same situation, but it's similar enough. To where that it'll be, you can, and so I get where you're coming from, Pong, because like you said, I mean, but that now to be fair, Bethesda Xbox were like peanut butter and jelly anyway.
Right. Correct.
That's not the same with Take-Two.
No.
So they don't have that built-in relationship already. So it would be a bit of a transition, even though I do agree a lot of those issues would go right away. Because I think, having that, being up under that Xbox umbrella stabilizes. One, you don't have to worry about money. Not that they do anyway. They fucking print money.
Their own.
Yeah, they print their own money. So GTA money. So we all understand that, So, but just that being back in a gaming environment, like you remembering they actually make video games. Right. You don't make pachinko machines and fucking roulette tables. Like, you make video games. So I think them being back in that kind of environment would hugely benefit Rockstar. So anybody else want to throw anything out? Once again, the chat, this is a super open topic. We're just kind of reviewing 2021 and just throwing out our random thoughts. Anything else? Centurion and Pong, throw it out there, man.
I don't know. I don't know if I got anything on this.
Okay. All right.
Well, all right. Oh man.
Go ahead, Centurion.
I'm trying to think like of a good question to throw out there myself. I mean, like, we all talked about our game of the year, but what was we just talked about, like, what game didn't really stand out to you? Like, what game that you felt was a letdown?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if I had any letdowns. That's a good question. I mean, okay, I get it. So Outriders was kind of a letdown to me.
Yeah.
Because I talked that game up. Yeah. Shout out to Cognito. And I will take this because I said this. I was on his ass. Because I was on his ass because I was mad at Destiny 2. I was mad at Bungie. I was like, this is gonna come out and take my attention away from Destiny. Finally, a game that I can get into. Anthem. Anyway, we'll move on from that.
Oh my god!
Finally a game that I can sink my teeth into that's not Destiny. And then lo and behold, it starts out fantastic. I'm like, this is glorious. This is exactly what I want. And then boom, they drop the fucking ball. That damn bug hits and they take forever to fix it, and the messaging around when they were going to get it fixed was all slow, and it seemed like they didn't know what they were going to talk about. It wasn't clear. It completely ruined it. So I would say Outriders for me personally, because I thought that game, now it's actually good now. Me and Fuzz played it not too long ago. We actually jumped in and played a few levels. It's actually really solid now, especially with the update that it just got some DLC. But that game, I would say, kind of let me down.
Yeah, it shot itself in the foot.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anybody
else?
I got a couple. Although the second part of this is going to be mainly the bugs and not the actual games themselves. But for me, Destruction All-Stars, yes, I understand it's a PlayStation exclusive. And it wasn't one of those I was like, oh, it's going to be crap. No, no. I was looking forward to it for the fact that it was going to be kind of like a Twisted Metal-ish kind of battle royale game. And yeah, it had its kind of like Fortnite-esque look to it, but I was figuring it was going to be worth a shot if they can get the destruction or the collision of the cars and stuff like that just right, as far as the feel of moving them around and then running or ramming into stuff just right. It should be in a good place, and not too many microtransactions, although some of them are a little bit grindy or do the in-game currency stuff. But it just, I don't know if it was just a matter of they didn't want to make the control feel too arcadey or not arcadey enough or something. It just, like the dash slide thing was a bit off feeling, I guess. But the rest of the game wasn't bad. It was just, I think people kind of quickly lost interest, like me included. Like my second playthrough or second time trying an online match, I won. Ooh, winner, chicken dinner. And it's like after that, it was like, okay, I just do the same thing and nobody's picking up on this is how you win the game. I was like, okay. I mean, at least with the Eliminator and Forza, it's like, okay, I didn't get any on Forza Horizon 4. I've gotten a couple on Forza Horizon 5, but it's like it could go extremely well and then terrible at the end, or it can go extremely bad leading up to the end, and then you pull out a victory type of thing. So there's it's a bit of luck, a bit of skill, but it's a nice balance of both. With the other one, it was like, okay, if you kind of have an idea of how to T-bone cars or pit cars, then yeah, you're going to wreck a lot of people and clean up on All Stars. But it was a bit of a disappointment. I was hoping it would have held out a little bit longer, but aside from that,
fell apart fast too.
Yes.
It was like it came out and then within like a week it was like completely
nobody was talking
completely
about it.
Vanished.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Outside of that, the rest of the list just is only the bugs. It's not the games. It's the bugs in the games that took a little bit longer than I would like to fix. And Forza Horizon 5 is one of them, but they're still working on it. Once they get the accolades thing fixed, then the end game stuff, trying to progress will be a lot smoother. There's a couple other issues like the photo mode and coming out of photo mode, loading, and getting some of the online races done. It winds up being a long loading loop sometimes, but it's not completely deal breaking, but it is frustrating. The Ascent had some connectivity issues when it came to the multiplayer or the co-op type of deal. Like a lot of times it would work smooth, and then it was like at times it was like no matter what you did, it's like, okay, why are we like all of a sudden moving slow? Oh wait, I just got kicked. Oh wait, I just got kicked. And it's like I'm back to the dashboard. It's like then you load up again, and it's like, okay, it's good for about 5-10 minutes, and then boom, oh, I'm kicked to the dashboard again. Well, I can't pick up anything. Hey, where'd everybody go? So yeah, if they had fixed it a little bit faster, it would have probably been on or considered within that game of the year category for me, because I like the look, I like the gameplay, the gunplay, the action of it. It was so much fun. But man, the connectivity issues definitely put a damper on it. Same thing with like Outriders. The best thing that they could have done would have been to listen to the player base, because I think they were like concerned about the player base leveling up too fast. You're going to have people that are going to try to be max level first day if they can, and if within the first 24 hours, if they can make end game, they'll do it. There's always going to be people that do that, and they saw that as a problem, knowing that that's the norm these days in a lot of looter shooters. There's going to be the top 10% or maybe even the top 2% that are going to be end game in hours, and then that's all they're going to do is grind out end game. They wanted to slow that down. When they changed the progression, I think that led to the gear wipe bug. And then there was issues where if you were doing co-op sometimes and you were max level and your buddy wasn't. Like most games are used to having it where you can kind of carry your friends or at least help them level up pretty quick. Like I forget what you call it now, but it's like you just basically push them to your level a lot faster as far as going through and doing run throughs. They made it almost impossible based to some weird calculation where you're max level, you got all the greatest gear that makes you almost bulletproof in the end game by yourself. But the minute you have like a lower level character, you're getting, melted by like lower level enemies instantly. Until people figured out, oh, well, maybe if I take off 2 or 3 pieces of gear, like you're running around with no shoes, no gloves, and no helmet. And now you're more tanky than what you were when you were bulletproof on your own world tier level. It was like, what are you guys doing? It's like, listen to the community. Don't try to slow the top 2% down. Just focus on what the main core base is telling you. Fix this. No. We're gonna slow stuff down. We're gonna make the leveling slower, and that just killed everything. And that and to not fix the gear remove bug like as fast as possible. Just that
it took too long.
That game.
Yep. Took too long.
What was the other game? Dark Alliance, which another fun game. Yes, I know people ripped into it, but it was fun until the bugs wiped some gear. Or it wasn't like it wiped gear, but it would create some weird scenarios where you're not doing any damage to the enemy, but yet they're like one-shotting you type of deal. But when you didn't have those situations, it was fun. But they definitely needed to work on some of the co-op stuff. And it took them a bit longer to kind of get that worked out. There's one other game, and I can't remember right now which one it was, but there was another game that had kind of like a weird co-op bug. So it just seemed like a lot of games that would have worked well as far as co-op games had their own hiccups and things. And sometimes the devs kind of ignored it. Sometimes they tried to fix it and make matters worse. But that the bugs, not the games themselves, but the bugs definitely kind of put a damper on 2021 as a whole for me. But most of those games, like I said, now they're fixed. They're running great. The community is a lot smaller considering how long it took some of those bugs to be fixed. But in a weird way, I guess it's probably best that Halo took the approach of delaying the co-op for that very same reason.
Exactly.
Because oh man, it would have probably not. It would have been no bueno if they had the co-op and you had issues where I can't continue, or I can't progress, or I can't fast travel to you, or it keeps crashing me because I'm not in the same location you're at. And
so shout out to Doom Reaper. Sorry, because he said Ascent had a bad co-op progression issue as well. The Ascent, which was another great game that came out, had an issue. It was pretty buggy. They've worked on that and fixed a lot of those issues as well.
Oh yeah. I loved that game. That the Ascent was just, if it wasn't for the co-op issues we had sometimes playing it, I think I'd still be playing that game. It was the game that took me away from the Division for a good bit. But that just the bugs. I'm hoping for more polish. I understand we're still in that COVID bubble kind of thing, so it's going to be a while before everything is fully where there can be teams working hand in hand in the same space type of thing, where that I guess the integration will be able to flesh that stuff out sooner. But I see a lot of games doing the delay to get that stuff worked out before release, because they're seeing how some have gotten pretty much obliterated in the reviews. But if 2022 can be a little less buggy year overall, I said we'll all be better for it. That's all.
Absolutely.
I got.
Okay. Can I throw out mine just real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because I'm just wanting, because you do it on bugs. I want to do it on developer choice. And for me, I know where this is probably going to get a lot of heat for what I'm about to say, but my big disappointment of this year was when it finally sank in that the direction that Bungie is taking Destiny 2 and sunsetting great pieces of content that I paid for. And I completely shook my head, and I will say that was when I uninstalled the game from my console, because I had a lot of great times playing Destiny 2. I wasn't as hardcore as a lot of other people that definitely got their money's worth out of that game. And I will definitely say I feel like I didn't get all my money's worth out of some of the content that I had paid for. That's on me not playing the content, but also I had never been put in a situation where the developer came in and was like, we're just going to sunset it and take it from you. So that was my disappointment, was when I figured out the direction that Bungie was taking Destiny 2.
No, I agree. I think that's and people were, it's crazy because people were up in arms about like Halo's battle pass and progression and all these other like battle pass issues. And I'm like, wait a minute, like there are games right now that have horrible battle pass. Like we don't play these games all the time. Fortnite, Apex, they all have battle pass issues. And you got something like Destiny getting rid of content altogether, like content that you paid for, you can't even play it. I have no access. I cannot go back and see what happened to Cade. If I'm new, if I'm jumping into Halo, I have no idea what happened pre-Beyond Light.
Who's Cade 6? Well, you got to go to YouTube and you got to look up Cade 6.
Yeah, I have no idea.
With Destiny 2, it felt like their battle pass was part of how you actually got a heavier light level and actually upgraded your stuff. Like I meant like, if you didn't have the battle pass, the grind was that much worse.
True. Yeah. They give a lot of XP boosts and stuff like that throughout the battle pass to help you level up a lot faster than you normally would. So I agree with that. It was some good, they did some good stuff, but that sunsetting madness is insane. I still think they're probably the only company that does that. I don't know any other game that sunsets content. Maybe
I have my theory on that, but it's not a very popular one. I think there's a fundamental flaw. I think there's a fundamental flaw with the engine that they use on Destiny 2. And when the game starts to reach a certain size, like I think it's like from some of the stuff I've heard, like over 100 gigs, it starts becoming real buggy and it's hard to optimize. So they made the internal decision to sunset content to control the size of the game.
That makes sense. And Pong, you sound like you have better idea of that, but let's get your opinion in here too, Pong, about maybe a low light for you.
Yeah, I think everybody covered the big ones for me too. I think the big three, and Fuzzy did a great job with them, was Outriders, The Ascent, and Dark Alliance, and I loved all three of those games.
I did too, man.
God. Here's what I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna kind of take a different route here, but I'll say this about these because these have been covered. Fuzzy did an excellent job. But the big thing now with these smaller developers and these AA teams that they're going to have to adjust to is that yes, we are getting better games, right? The accessibility to the tools, all that kind of stuff has raised these smaller teams' ability to create bigger and better worlds and games overall that can, on a lot of levels, compete with the AAA $100 million games, $50 million games, right? So we're seeing that. We're seeing that difference shrink between the two, which is fantastic because, again, the golden age of gaming is here. Because, in part because of that, because of the opportunity that exists now for smaller teams, indie developers to create these experiences that can compete on much the same level as the big home run hitters, right? So, but one thing they are going to have to adjust to, because there are so many games coming out, because our time is limited in what we can actually play, that if you have an opportunity and your game comes out, and you have an opportunity to grab an audience, especially games that depend upon a player base like Dark Alliance, like Outriders, like The Ascent, to continue that game forward and make it an even bigger success, they're going to have to realize that if they're going to push their game out the door and that there are bugs in it that are critical to the gameplay experience, they are going to have to become much better, as like we've seen it with the bigger teams, addressing those issues and fixing those problems that the community has almost instantaneously. They're going to have to get better at that. Now, we've seen big teams, continue to have problems. I mean, Activision never fixes Call of Duty. Okay. It's a problem, but Call of Duty's so big that they laugh and say, too bad, so sad. What, you guys are going to keep playing it. So whatever. And that's the unfortunate part of that. But with these smaller developers, they're going to have such a smaller window to grab people's attention and keep their game in people's minds, because there's always going to be a game, sometimes literally the next day, that comes out competing in the same space for that attention, that they're going to have to realize that if you're going to get your game out and it's got these critical issues that pop up, because again, smaller teams can't do all the testing that the big dogs can do either. We got to remember that a lot of times, you don't know what a game's like, especially when you drop it in the Game Pass and you're a small team and all of a sudden you got 1 million people on your game the first day trying it out. All of a sudden there's going to be a lot of bugs that pop up that you could not catch in testing. You could test it for years and still not find that bug just because you have so many people playing it. They're just going to have to get better at fixing them almost immediately, so that they don't have the issues where people just drop off and say, yeah, I've got 20 other games calling my name. I'm sorry, I really like your game, but I'm not going to waste my time here. Like, this is not going to be it. And then to try to get those people back again is extremely tough to do, because as the time goes on, more and more things are out there competing for attention. So they're just going to have to get better at that. So I think this is a learning year for a lot of these smaller teams as well, and starting to realize that, hey, great, we're competing with some of the big dogs. We're getting promotion from places like Xbox and Game Pass that we never would have gotten back in the day. That's awesome. We're going to have more eyes on our game, but with those more eyes comes more problems, and we got to be better at solving those problems quickly to keep the fan base happy. And I think that that's the next step for these smaller developers to get a hold of. So I think this will be a learning experience. I'm going to take it a different track though, a little bit. And I won't be long, but I'm going to go with disappointing publishers. Okay.
Ooh.
And I've ranted and raved about this on Living Split Screen. And I've got 2 of them that are on my list that I will constantly go after. And there's more, but I'm going after 2 big ones, and because they're a genre that I love, and we're in 2021, coming into 2022. I understand back in the day, avoiding certain platforms or not thinking it's worth your time.
I know where you're going.
Between Square Enix and Atlas, both of those companies need to wake up. Okay, times are a-changing, and they have changed. Whatever your stubborn attitude is, whatever the reason that you have for disliking the Xbox platform, you guys need to get over yourselves, okay? And you need to realize that you're missing out on a big fan base. Sega should have proved that to everybody with Yakuza dropping in the Game Pass and the surge that game got. All of those games. There's people who never touched a Yakuza because they never thought they would enjoy a Yakuza that are now huge Yakuza fans because it dropped into Game Pass and it was available on an Xbox console. Stop ignoring Xbox. Square and Atlas, you two are the biggest problem children on my list. You guys have a catalog of JRPGs. You now have an expanding Xbox fan base over here that has now had an opportunity to play games like Dragon Quest, etc., and have shown much love for JRPGs, where maybe in the past you had a right. Maybe back 10 years ago, you had a right to say, not a lot of people on Xbox like JRPGs. A lot of people have grown through the years. A lot of new people, younger generations, actually are into anime and love Japanese culture and all that kind of stuff. Now that's grown. That's exploded on the scene. You got a lot more fans now over on this side as well. And you guys, in 2021, there is no reason. I don't care what you say. There is no reason that you can't spend, especially with the architecture now being much more similar than it ever has been back in the day, to start putting your games over here. It's time to get off your high horses. You guys have that little bit of ego because you guys have made some of the best JRPGs to come out in a long time. And again, Xbox probably wasn't the place for you at one time, but it's time to let all that go. It's time to stop stereotyping the Xbox fan base and get those games over here. So it was disappointing for me in 2021 to see both of those publishers continue to ignore as they talked about new releases coming out. Maybe they dribble one here. Atlas, not at all, right? But maybe Square dribbles one over here, Great. We got Octopath Traveler. That was fantastic. You guys should have seen the success. I saw so many people playing Octopath Traveler and talking about it on Twitter. There's no way you can't tell me that wasn't a success when Xbox handed you the bag to put it into Game Pass. All right. You can't tell me that wasn't a success at all. So in 2021, to still have these new announcements at whether it was at E3, the Game Awards, come out and still skip Xbox. For God's sakes, Atlas, Persona 4 Ultimax. You just made a big deal about that at the Game Awards. The original one was on the 360, and you're going to tell me you're not going to put that on the series consoles and offer it to the Xbox community when you're going to re-release it with the new updated version of it, whatever the case, we added content to it. You're not going to put that over here after the original one was over here? Come on now. This is just getting old to me. Again, as a fan of Japanese games, as a fan of the Eastern culture as a whole, and all that kind of stuff, I'm tired of it. I think it's time for both of those. They are well established. Now, an indie developer just coming up who doesn't have all the resources, who doesn't have the ability, I can understand when you got to pick and choose. And I can definitely hear the argument as to why you're only going to put it on PlayStation side of things, because of the actual amount of base over there with the PlayStation 4. I can hear that argument for the smaller developers, but not the big boys. The big boys need to wake up. It's time to get those games over on Xbox coming into 2022. I want to see a change there. So that was my biggest disappointment.
I agree. I 100% agree with that. There's a lot of people, I see that push online from a lot of people on Twitter, and it's inexplicable. It doesn't make any sense. Especially Atlas is extremely a weird situation because of the close ties with Sega and Xbox.
Yeah.
They're like bread and butter almost.
Right.
They have a great relationship, and you would think Sega being a parent company, they'd be like, you know what? We'll go ahead and open that little chest up, our little war chest up a little bit.
And Persona 5 Royale made them a ton of money. That game Personas do not cost. They're not big expenditures. Okay. They're not big expenditures at all. They made a ton of money off Persona 5 Royale. You can't tell me that an extra, million sales, 1.5 million sales over on the Xbox side of things wouldn't just be jelly on top of your butter. Come on, man.
Shout out to Back from Dead and Chat. He did say, look how long it took Kingdom Hearts to come to
Xbox.
Yeah.
So it took that forever to get to Xbox. So I think,
there's a fan base over here for it.
There's a definite fan base.
It's been played.
Yeah. For sure. No, absolutely. I 100% agree. That's one that I definitely wouldn't have brought up had you not just brought it up. Had you not just said that, I wouldn't have covered that at all. But that's a very, very great point. Hopefully that changes because Phil has been working in Japan. We know he's been over there multiple times. We don't know exactly what's going on, but he's been working over there. So hopefully we'll see the fruits of all of that labor. But I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. Shout out to Stubbs. Stubbs Gaming in the chat said he just waking up.
Shut up, brother, Stubbs. You came in too late to start trolling stuff.
It's okay, brother. Yeah, it's all right. Go ahead and watch that replay. You can leave a comment saying how much you hate Pong on the video later on. I promise you.
What's up, Stubbs?
What's up, brother? But no, so yeah, ultimately, man, I think that's gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. So this was our 2021 year in review episode, man. If you missed it, go ahead and go all the way up to the beginning, rewatch it. The link will be up shortly right after we get off of here. But I do want to say thank you for everybody watching live. This is a really fun show. I love the format. We just kind of went in, jumped in, didn't really know what we were going to talk about, but definitely just wanted to highlight 2021. It's been an amazingly consistent year for us gamers. We truly, truly are spoiled. I know, Pong, you say at the golden age of gaming. We really, truly are on the cusp of that. And like as gamers, we really need to realize that. Take a step back and realize that we're stepping into a generation unlike any other generation from a competitive standpoint from all three big companies. And we're going to see some very, very, very special games, special experiences this time around. But once again, you guys are amazing, chat. We'll go ahead and go around the panel here. We'll start with you, Pong. Appreciate you, brother. Pong Harvey, always showing up here, always super positive and bringing the energy, man. Great show today. Wrapped up the 2021 year, man. We're moving into 2022. So let everybody know where they can find you, Pong.
Yeah, absolutely. I just dropped the links again for Wandering Dutch.
Yeah,
I just double checked. He just passed his goal of 1,000 euros.
Shout out to Dutch.
Pounds. They're at 1,038. Yeah. Obviously, this is again F cancer, fuck cancer, man. We've all been impacted by cancer. At least I can probably safely say that the majority of us, in some way, whether direct or indirectly, has had somebody have something related to cancer in almost everybody's lives, right? So it is one of the worst diseases out there possible. And this is for a good cause. So they passed, they're 1,038. Obviously anything more is just going to be the cherry on top. So please still stop in there, say hi. Even if you don't have the ability to donate, I totally understand that. Trust me, my situation isn't the greatest. I get it, but stop in and say hi and give him some love and support because they're going strong. He's going to be going until 6 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. So please drop in there and say hi. But just a great cause, and Wandering Dutch is just a good dude. All the guys over at Midweek Mix Up are a part of that. They're all gaming with him right now. Got a lot of people over there. So it's really good. So just do that, please. And thank you. Otherwise, great show, gentlemen. This was fun freestyling. I love doing this. Steele and I do this every week on Living Split Screen. It's just a fun way to do it, especially with other people who have such great views and great thoughts all the time as you guys do. You're my brothers, you're my extended family. I love being here Saturday nights, and this was a great way to finish off the year as we all get to enjoy some time off going forward. So thank you, all of you. I appreciate it. This has been an incredible year for me. PTK, you having me come on the show, I can't thank you enough for the invite initially, and then offering me the chance to come on here as a permanent member. Man, you're one of the ones that changed my life this year from the standpoint that these...
Thank you, brother.
These and all of you have contributed to that. Obviously, Fuzzy and Centurion, you're a part of that. I'm just speaking directly PTK because he's the main man here. But just this whole entire community this year has been something special. I've created memories this year in a bad time, in a rough time for a lot of people, right, across the entire world. But I had the opportunity to jump in this community and meet so many incredible now that I can call people that I can call friends now that I never would have met before. And these memories that I'm building here are things that I'm going to remember. Hopefully I'll get a chance to reflect back on my deathbed whenever that time comes, and these are going to be part of those memories of my life, and I can't replace them. So thank you for this opportunity and for being here each and every week, you guys. I just love you all. Chat, same thing. I started out in chat in this community. You guys are absolutely incredible each and every week. All the shows you support, and as I always say, it doesn't matter if you're here chatting it up or if you're just lurking and listening, as I often have to do at work. It does not matter. You all are a part of this community too, whether you're creating content or just hanging out in chat, hitting the like button, sharing things out. Love you all. Nothing but respect for you guys, because that's where I started. I've met a lot of you through that. And this is just awesome. And I count you guys as friends as well that I never would have known without jumping into this whole incredible community. So thank you all for the great year. It's been spectacular. A lot of other areas haven't been so good, but this right here has been a really good place for me. So I appreciate you all. Nothing but love and respect. It's Golden Age of Gaming. You can find me, Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. You know the drill there. We're going to be on pretty much break. I got the Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesday. I know Boom is doing that. And so 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Obviously, we're probably going to have a look back at the year as well. I'm sure Boom will do that. So, but then otherwise, my other shows are going to be on break next week. So I'll cut my outro short because I gave you a bunch of extra stuff here. But I appreciate you all. And you know what? During the holiday season, I want you all, first of all, have a great holiday, no matter how you celebrate it. Have a great new year if I don't talk to you before then. But I want you all to have a wonderful time, whatever you're doing. And also make sure that you are telling those that are around you how much you love them, and keep that real life going good. And then give yourself some time in the gaming world, because the gaming world is absolutely exploding right now. It is the best time to be a gamer. But love you all. Talk to you all real soon, and have a great rest of your weekend.
I don't know how you follow that up. For real. No, it's so rookie of the year easily, Pong. So I didn't do anything, but I do appreciate you giving me kudos, credits, whatever you want to call it, brother. I didn't do anything but see a guy who had the same passion that I did and just make a request to join me on this show. So your talent takes you wherever you're supposed to go. So all credit diverted back to you, brother. All your hard work, your dedication, your knowledge, your passion for video games is doing all the talking and walking. I have nothing to do with that. Maybe I played a little bit of part putting you in front of some additional eyes, but your talent speaks for itself, Pong. So, and that's me to you, brother. Not a problem at all. But yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said. Pong been a huge part of the show. since we got him. A big addition, man. Consistent panel here. I'm grateful for all these guys here. We will be taking a break next week, obviously, because of Christmas. So there will not be a Shot podcast next week. I'm probably going to try and put up some videos throughout the week so that you guys have some type of content at some point, just to kind of offset the fact that we won't have a podcast next week. But let me go ahead and get to my other crew members here. I don't want to take up too much time. Fuzzy, appreciate you, brother. It's been a great year for us. You've had some big changes in 2021, but let everybody know where they can find you as well.
Well, also want to take some time to thank you guys for being my second family on here and just always being welcoming and having awesome, takes on things as far as just talking our favorite hobby and stuff. And I wanted to, I can't follow up Pong's statement. That was awesome, dude. And man, it's so awesome to see your rise amongst the this past year and stuff. And you're definitely the encyclopedia of gaming. And I know you don't necessarily like that nickname, but man, you're a wealth of knowledge as far as this hobby is concerned.
Thank you, brother.
Kudos to you, man. Also want to take time. I hate doing this on the spot a little bit early, but happy birthday a little early because I know we're not going to be here next Saturday, PTK.
Thank you, brother.
I know your birthday this Monday and stuff, but hope you have a fun, safe, happy birthday and holiday as well. I want Pong and Centurion to also have a safe holiday and happy New Year. And man, can't wait to do this in the new year and all this, great gaming stuff that we're going to see over the next few months. But for anybody that wants to see my ramblings on Forza or Insurgency Sandstorm, Halo, or any game in general, you can always follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. Same on PSN, Fuzzy_Belvedere. Xbox Live, Fuzzy Space Belvedere. Look forward to next year. Thank you, everyone in the chat that came to watch, and for those listening at a later time and stuff. But man, I just enjoy this so much and can't wait to get back to it later or the beginning of next year.
Oh yeah. We're gonna come back better than everybody, people. So appreciate you as well. Fuzz, you're super important. Once again, you're like my brother. You know what I'm saying? You're like our brother here. The chat loves you. You bring a different flow to the podcast as well. So appreciate you being here every single week, providing your wealth of knowledge as well, man. We all add our own little flavor to the actual podcast. I couldn't do this without you guys, man. Appreciate you guys all so much, man, equally. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Centurion, man. Appreciate you as well, bro. Every week, super consistent. But let everybody know where they can find you as well.
Well, just kind of follow suit with everybody here. I am very appreciative to be here with you guys. I know, I don't really talk too much about myself or stuff like that, but when for Pong, you're an inspiration to me. Definitely, I got to get myself going again on my content. I mean, to see how far you've come in the community and how far you've risen is inspiring to me. I haven't made as much content as I want to due to things being up and down. And that's where you guys have been like almost my support structure. I've been coming here every single weekend for a couple years now, and I wouldn't miss it for the world because I mean, just the interactions with you guys and the interactions that I have with the community have really helped me out, go through some crazy stuff. Every single time I want to kind of do content or even think about doing content, something else happens to where it's just like, all right, I got to put this on the back burner. But for sure, I could have never put this whole experience right here on the back burner. I try to make time every single weekend to just hang out with you guys because it has totally changed my life. More than anybody here knows. I'll just put it that way. You guys have given me a family that I never had, because if you really want to know the honest to God truth, the only family I really have is my wife. I pretty much have very little family, and you guys have definitely filled a gap for me. So I want to say happy birthday to you, PTK, because I saw that coming up, and then obviously Fuzzy just reminded me. But also, it's a time to reflect on family. It's that time of year, and I want to wish all of you guys Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. And definitely, you guys have definitely made a major impact on my life as well. Something that I'm going to look back and tell everybody about. I even tell the people I work around about you guys and the other people I interact with in the community. And I'm looked at as some strange person, like, oh my God, you hang out with people on the internet. And it's like, well, the people on the internet are actually a lot nicer than the people that I know out in the real world. So definitely, for those who are interested in the content that I have done, I am planning new content. Can be located at Centurion 1307 on YouTube, Xbox Live, and Twitter. You can find me right here with my second family right here on the Shop Podcast every Saturday night. And you can also find me over on the TXR podcast on Sunday nights with Invader and the other amazing gentlemen over there. Everybody in this community, even the ones in chat, Shansu, Blue, other amazing people have totally impacted me. Just the other night, I got a chance to play like Halo multiplayer with somebody who actually listens to all our shows, and it totally meant the world to me just to interact with somebody that's like, oh my God, I listen to you guys all the time, and you guys have an absolutely amazing show. He goes on Xbox Live as a Hip Deep OG. That's all I know about him, but he was a really nice guy. And that's one of the experiences I guess I live for now, is just to be able to interact with the amazing people right here in this community.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you as well too, brother. You add so much to the show every single week, man. Every single person here. And I just want to wrap things out by saying I appreciate these guys, you know, extremely. They do so much for me every single week. They're all brothers to me. I appreciate you as well, chat. You guys allow me to do this and entertain you guys every single Saturday. I started this show with the intention to do so, and you guys help facilitate that. So thank you so much. You guys have done for me more than I could even ask for this year. Had some really low lows, and you guys were able to pull me out of that, like literally pull me out of some really low lows. So I cannot ask more from this community than you guys have already given me. But you guys, please, the main thing is have a phenomenal holiday. Please be safe. Love each other. Do not forget the small things. Have an awesome New Year's as well. Once again, we will not have a Shop podcast next week. I'll try and fit a couple, videos in earlier in the week so you guys have some content to carry you through. Until things kind of calm down after the holidays. But I appreciate you guys so much. Shout out to everybody always showing up, watching us live. Big things for the new year. Appreciate you guys. See you guys another day. We're out of here, everybody.
Later.